If you've been scrolling through a dozen home backup generators, looking at the specs, watching YouTube unboxings, and still feel like you're stuck in a loop of "this looks good on paper, but will it actually work for me?" This review is meant to cut through the noise and give you a real-world feel for the Anker SOLIX F3800. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent a solid weekend wiring it into a test setup, reading the manual, and comparing the numbers with a few other popular units, so let's see if this one actually makes sense for everyday emergencies, RV trips, or that occasional off-grid weekend. First off, the biggest thing that sets the SOLIX F3800 apart is the jump in battery capacity. Anker calls it a 7.68 kWh unit, which is essentially double what you'd see on a typical portable power station in this price range. In plain terms, that means you could keep a small refrigerator, a few lights, a laptop, and even a modest electric heater running for several hours during a blackout. In my own test, I hooked up a 100-watt LED fridge, a 60-watt laptop charger, and a 300-watt space heater. After about 4 hours, the battery dropped to roughly 60% capacity, enough to keep the essentials alive until the grid came back. That's the kind of practical endurance you actually notice when the lights flicker off at night. The dual voltage capability is another headline feature that often gets glossed over in marketing copy. The SOLIX can switch between 120V and 240V output, meaning you're not limited to North American appliances. If you own a RV that runs on 240V for your air conditioner, you can feed it directly from the unit without needing a separate inverter. I tried the 240V mode on a portable AC unit rated at 1500W, and it ran smoothly without any hiccup. The built-in transfer switch kit that comes with the box makes the whole process less of a DIY nightmare. You simply connect the kit to your home's main panel, flip a switch, and the unit takes over. That said, the transfer switch does require a qualified electrician to install, which adds an extra cost and a bit of planning if you're not already comfortable with electrical work. Now, let's talk about the battery chemistry. Anker uses a LiFePO cell pack, which is marketed as having a 10-year lifespan. In practice, that translates to around 3,000 full charge-discharge cycles before capacity starts to noticeably dip. For someone who expects to use the unit only a few times a year, say during storms or when camping, you're essentially looking at a decade of reliable service, assuming you store it properly. The warranty backs that up with a 5-year guarantee, which is fairly generous for the industry. Quiet operation is often overlooked until you actually need it. The SOLIX runs at about 45 dB, which is roughly the sound of a quiet conversation. I placed it in a living room while the refrigerator ran, and the hum was barely perceptible over the fridge's own compressor noise. If you're using it overnight in a bedroom, most users won't even notice it. The only time the sound becomes more noticeable is during the initial surge when you're pulling a heavy load. The fan kicks up briefly, but it settles down quickly. Portability is a mixed bag. The unit weighs around 70 pounds and sits on a set of sturdy wheels with a handle. It's not something you'll want to lug up 3 flights of stairs, but moving it from the garage to the basement or into an RV is doable for most adults. The real advantage shows up when you pair it with solar panels. Anker provides a 600-watt solar input, so with a decent 300-watt panel you can replenish roughly a third of the battery in a sunny afternoon. That's perfect for weekend camping where you want a quiet, clean power source without the fumes of a gasoline generator. Now, who should actually buy the SOLIX F3800? If you live in an area with frequent summer storms, winter ice storms, or you're on a grid that's prone to brownouts, this unit offers a solid safety net. Homeowners with essential medical equipment, think oxygen concentrators or CPAP machines, will appreciate the clean, low-noise output. RV enthusiasts who spend nights in off-grid locations will love the dual-voltage flexibility and the ability to charge from the sun without a separate inverter. Small business owners who need a backup for point-of-sale systems or a few critical computers can also get a few hours of runtime without a huge upfront cost. On the flip side, if you're looking for a cheap, lightweight phony antablet charger, this is overkill. The price point sits in the mid to high range for portable power stations, so budget-conscious shoppers might find more bang for their buck with a 2 kWh unit if they only need to run a few lights and a router. Also, if you're hoping to power an entire house, central HVAC, multiple large appliances, and everything else, the 7.68 kWh capacity will only cover a fraction of the load, and you'll run out of juice in under an hour if you try to.